The great hall of the Alien War Council shook with laughter. The warriors of many species gathered under a ceiling made of black stone, lit by blue fire. They had fought in countless wars, crushed worlds, and enslaved whole races. To them, Earth was only a forgotten rock, a place of oceans, forests, and fragile creatures. No empire feared it, no history sang of it, and no warrior respected it. One alien, tall with red scales and golden armor, raised his claw and shouted, "Earth! They call it a planet of mud and water. Humans are tiny, their bones weak, their hearts soft, their weapons nothing." The hall roared with laughter, tails slamming the ground, wings beating in the air. Another warrior, huge and armored in steel, stepped forward. "I fought a human once. It begged for mercy before the fight even started," he sneered. The others howled, their voices shaking the walls. They spoke of their battles across the stars, the burning of the desert moons, the crushing of ice kingdoms, the fall of proud empires. Each tale ended with cheers, each victory with blood. But when Earth was mentioned, it was only in jokes. To fight a human, one laughed, is like stepping on an insect. To invade Earth, said another, is not war, it is sport. The word spread like poison, and soon every corner of the galaxy heard it. Yet not all agreed. Some older warriors, scarred and silent, shifted uncomfortably at the endless laughter. They had seen something in their long lives, something the young ones ignored. But they said nothing, for the crowd was wild, and pride ruled stronger than wisdom. The leader of the council, a massive alien with skin like iron, stood from his throne. His voice thundered across the hall, silencing even the loudest mockery. "We waste time," he declared. "Earth is weak, and weak worlds are not worth our blades." The warriors nodded, pounding their weapons against their chests. The council agreed Earth was nothing, no honor, no challenge, no respect. But then a voice cut through the noise. A messenger ran into the hall, his armor still glowing from hyperspace travel. He bowed low and spoke with trembling words. "My lords, forgive me, but a human is coming." The hall grew still, the sound of laughter fading like smoke in the wind. Every eye turned to the messenger, sharp and doubtful. "What nonsense is this?" The leader growled. "One human? To stand before us? A fragile creature with no army?" The messenger swallowed hard. "Yes, my lord, only one. He comes without weapons, without soldiers, without fear." The hall broke again into laughter, but this time it was nervous laughter. Even the youngest warrior could feel something strange in those words. Why would a single human walk into the hall of warriors? Why would he come without fear? The red-scaled warrior smirked. "Let him come. We will crush him before he takes his second breath." The steel-armored one laughed. "I will snap his bones and wear them as a necklace." The hall cheered. Yet their voices carried an edge of unease, for in the shadows of their pride, doubt began to grow. Outside the council walls, the stars burned cold and silent. The galaxy had seen countless battles, countless empires rise and fall. But never had one human dared to walk into the lion's den of warriors. The stories of Earth were only jokes, but soon, the galaxy would learn that the weakest creatures are sometimes the most dangerous. The old scarred warrior, who had been silent all night, finally whispered to himself, "They laugh now, but when the human arrives, their laughter will die." No one heard him. But the words hung heavy in the smoke-filled air. The fate of Earth, the pride of the warriors, and the respect of the galaxy were about to collide. And in that collision, everything would change. The hall of alien warriors waited, filled with pride and arrogance. They had mocked Earth all night, laughed at the idea of humans, and promised to crush the one who dared to come. Yet when the doors of the council groaned open, silence swept across the chamber. The air grew heavy, the blue flames flickered lower, and even the strongest claws and blades froze. There he was, a lone figure stepping into the light, a human, dressed not in shining armor but in simple clothing of dark fabric. No crown, no army, no weapon, only calm eyes that scanned the hall without fear. The sound of his boots echoed against the black stone floor. Every step rang like a challenge, every step made the warriors shift in their seats. The red-scaled warrior sneered first, breaking the silence. "This is the one? This is the mighty human who dares to walk among us?" The hall erupted in cruel laughter. Though it was weaker than before, the human did not answer. He did not bow. He only kept walking, steady, unshaken, until he stood in the very center of the hall. The steel-armored giant leaned forward, his voice booming like thunder. "Do you not fear us, little creature? Look around you, we are the killers of empires, the destroyers of worlds, and you stand alone." The human raised his head. his voice calm and sharp. "I see many warriors, but I see no strength." The words fell like a blade cutting through the laughter. The warriors roared with anger, their pride burning. But still the human did not flinch. The council leader, his iron skin glowing under the firelight, rose from his throne. His eyes burned with fury as he looked down at the small figure. "You dare insult us in our own hall?" he demanded. The human met his gaze without blinking. "Respect is not given, it is earned, and so far, all I hear are stories." The hall shook with growls and shouts. Weapons lifted, wings spread wide. The warriors wanted blood, wanted to silence the bold voice that dared to rise against them. But the leader raised his hand, silencing the room. "You want to prove yourself human? Then stand and face a warrior." He turned to the red-scaled one, who was already grinning, his claws eager for battle. "Show this insect what it means to challenge us," the leader commanded. The red-scaled warrior stepped forward, his massive body towering over the human. His golden armor glowed. His tail cracked the stone beneath him. He laughed, showing sharp teeth. "One strike, little earthling. One strike and you will be broken." The human looked up, calm as the sea. He spoke quietly, almost a whisper, yet the hall carried every word. "Try." That single word sent shivers through the crowd. It was not arrogance, it was not madness, it was certainty. And for the first time, the red-scaled warrior felt something alien in his heart. Hesitation. The duel began. The warrior charged like a storm, claws flashing, teeth bared. The ground shook with his weight. The hall thundered with the sound of war. But the human did not run. He did not even raise a hand until the last moment then. With a movement so quick the eye could barely follow, he stepped aside, the claws cut only air. And the warrior stumbled, his pride crashing faster than his body. Before he could recover, the human struck, not with a blade, not with brute strength, but with precision. A sharp blow to the chest, a twist at the joint, a strike at the throat. The red-scaled warrior fell to his knees, gasping, defeated in the space of a heartbeat. The hall exploded in chaos, warriors shouting, roaring, some even rising to fight, yet none moved forward. For the human now stood in the center, untouched, calm, and unshaken. The steel-armored giant rose, his face twisted with rage. This is a trick of speed. He cannot stand against real strength. But his words sounded weaker than he wished. For in their hearts, the warriors had seen something they could not deny. The human was no insect, no weakling, no joke. He was something else, something dangerous. The old scarred warrior who had whispered in the shadows the night before leaned forward now, his eyes locked on the human. His voice low but clear. They mocked Earth. But perhaps they were wrong. The hall grew silent again, every warrior staring at the figure who stood alone. One human had walked into their hall without fear, and already the galaxy's pride was shaking. The red-scaled warrior lay on the ground, his golden armor cracked, his pride shattered. The hall of warriors shook with noise, voices clashing like thunder. Some roared in anger, demanding the human be struck down at once. Others whispered in disbelief, unable to accept what their eyes had seen. A single human, small and unarmed, had brought one of their strongest to his knees. The steel-armored giant stood, his chest glowing with fury. He was taller than 3 men, his fists as large as boulders, his armor dented from countless battles. His roar shook the torches. The blue fire flickered like a frightened flame. "No more games," he thundered. "I will crush him myself, and prove to all that humans are nothing." The crowd cheered, their pride desperate to recover from shame. The iron-skinned leader raised his hand and allowed it. "Face him and let this hall see the truth," he declared. The human turned his head slowly, his calm eyes resting on the massive warrior. He did not speak, he did not taunt, he only nodded once. That single gesture stung the pride of the giant more than words ever could. "You think yourself equal to me?" the giant growled, slamming his fists together. "Then come, little human, and I will show you the weight of real strength." The circle cleared. The warriors formed a ring around them. The floor cracked beneath the giant's steps as he entered the arena. The human stood barefoot on the stone, his hands relaxed at his side. He looked fragile compared to the mountain of armor and muscle before him. But his stillness was not weakness, it was control. Every warrior watching could feel it. Though none would admit it aloud, the giant attacked first, charging forward with speed no one thought his size could hold. The ground quaked, his armored fist came down like a falling star. The human moved at the last instant, stepping aside with a grace that looked impossible. The fist struck stone, shattering it, sending dust and shards flying across the hall. Gasps rose from the warriors as the human slipped behind him. One precise strike at the back of the knee, and the giant stumbled, but he did not fall. His roar shook the chamber. "I will not be humiliated by a fragile insect," he bellowed. He swung again. Wide arcs of steel and rage. Each strike could break bones, crush skulls, end life in an instant. But the human moved like water, flowing where there was space, dodging where there was death. He did not waste strength. Every step was measured, every breath controlled. The crowd grew restless, their pride and fear clashing in their hearts. How could this human stand against such power? Why had he not been broken already? At last, the giant lifted both fists high, ready to slam down with all his strength. The hall held its breath. Warriors leaning forward, waiting for the end. The human's eyes sharpened, his body still until the final heartbeat. Then he moved, faster than sight. Slipping inside the arc of destruction, he struck, a single precise blow to the exposed joint. The sound was sharp. The giant roared in agony. His fist slammed down, but not on the human. On the stone, cracking it further. The giant dropped to one knee, his breath heavy, his strength bleeding away. Silence filled the hall, thicker than smoke. The human stood untouched, calm, unshaken. As the giant struggled to rise, another strike, sharp and controlled, sent the armored warrior crashing down. The floor trembled as his massive body hit the ground. Gasps and whispers swept through the council. 2 warriors had fallen, and the human had not even drawn a weapon. The red-scaled warrior, still kneeling in shame, looked at the giant beside him. He could not believe his eyes. Yet the truth lay broken on the stone. The old scarred warrior whispered again, but this time his voice was louder. "Do you see now? He does not fight with size, he fights with will." The younger ones growled in anger, but their eyes betrayed doubt. No longer could they laugh. No longer could they call Earth weak. The iron-skinned leader rose slowly from his throne, his gaze heavy, his pride wounded, but his curiosity growing. This human was not ordinary. He was not weak, he was something else. The leader's voice thundered. "You have faced 2 of my strongest, and you still stand, human. Tell us, what is your secret? What makes you fight with such power?" The human looked up, his calm eyes meeting the leader's. His voice was steady, each word cutting like a blade. "I do not fight for myself, I fight because on Earth we have no choice. Every day is survival. Every step is struggle. We fight not for conquest but for life, and that no warrior in this hall can ever understand." The silence that followed was deeper than any roar. For the first time, the warriors did not see a fragile creature. They saw a force they could not measure, a will they could not break. And though their pride burned, respect began to take root. The Hall of Warriors no longer laughed. Where once there was mocking, now there was silence, thick and heavy like a storm before rain. 2 of their strongest had fallen, and the human stood calm, his breath steady, his eyes sharp. The warriors shifted uneasily, claws tapping against stone, tails twitching, wings folding tight. They could not understand what they had seen, but none could deny it. The steel-armored giant still groaned on the floor. The red-scaled warrior clutched his cracked chest. Their defeat burned in every corner of the chamber. It was shame, a wound to the pride of the council. The young warriors growled, their anger boiling like fire. "This is trickery," one shouted. "He moves too fast. He strikes like shadow." Another slammed his spear into the ground. Sparks flying, he should be crushed, not honored. "One human cannot stand against us all." The council leader raised a hand, his iron skin glowing under the firelight. "Enough," he thundered, his voice shaking the walls. But his command did not calm the storm. It only fed it. For the warriors were not used to silence, not used to shame. Their pride demanded blood, demanded proof that they were still supreme. One by one, they began to step forward. A horned warrior with silver armor snarled, his weapon dripping with poison. A beast-like alien with 4 arms roared, pounding his chest with fury. A winged warrior spread her feathers wide, her eyes burning with challenge. The hall erupted with voices, each demanding the right to fight. It was no longer a duel. It was a storm of rage gathering against one man. The human stood in the center, still calm, still unshaken. He did not lift a weapon. He did not raise his voice. He only looked at them as if they were children throwing tantrums. And that look cut deeper than any blade, for it told them he did not fear them. Not even all of them at once. The iron-skinned leader slammed his massive fist against the throne. "Enough," he roared, the sound echoing like thunder through the chamber. The flames trembled, the floor cracked. The warriors froze. He rose to his full height, his voice sharp with authority. You will not swarm him like scavengers. He will face you one by one. If he falls, Earth will remain a joke. If he stands, then we will decide what he is, the warriors hissed. But none dared defy the leader's command. Still, their eyes burned with hunger for battle. Each one wanted the chance to prove that humans were weak. Each one wanted to erase the shame of defeat. The storm had not broken yet, but it circled the human like thunderclouds. Waiting to strike, the next challenger stepped forward. The horned warrior with silver armor. He lifted his poisoned blade high, his voice sharp with hatred. I will end this quickly, human. Your tricks will not save you from me. The crowd roared in approval, their anger spilling into every corner of the hall. The human only tilted his head, his voice calm. Then come. The duel began, the silver blade flashing under the blue fire. The horned warrior moved with deadly speed, his strikes sharp and wild. Every cut was meant to kill, every move poisoned with hatred. But the human danced between them, his steps light, his body flowing like water. Gasps filled the hall as the poisoned blade cut only air. The human struck once, precise, disarming the warrior in a heartbeat. The silver blade clattered to the ground. The horned warrior's knees struck stone. Another silence fell, heavier than before. Now the crowd no longer laughed, no longer shouted, they whispered, their voices sharp with fear. What is he? One asked, trembling. He fights like no one we have seen. Another muttered. The storm of anger now mixed with something new. Uncertainty. And that uncertainty spread faster than fire. The winged warrior stepped forward. Her eyes narrowed, her feathers glowing with light. I will not fall as the others did, she hissed. Her wings slicing the air, she attacked with speed, diving from above like a falling star. The human moved at the last moment, rolling aside, striking her wing with precision. She crashed to the ground. Her pride shattered before she could rise. 3 had fallen, and still the human had not broken. The old scarred warrior leaned against his staff, his voice carrying across the chamber. Young fools, do you not see? It is not strength he wields, it is control, it is will. And that is something you cannot break. His words cut into their hearts. Truth they did not want to hear, but deep down, even the proudest warrior felt it. The storm was shifting. The laughter was gone, and respect, unwilling and bitter, had begun to take root. The iron-skinned leader's eyes narrowed as he watched. He did not laugh, he did not cheer. He only studied the human with a gaze heavy as mountains. For he knew that if this man continued to stand, it would not only change the council, it would change the galaxy. The great hall trembled with silence. 3 warriors had fallen in the dust, their pride broken, their strength crushed. The red-scaled one, the steel-armored giant, the horned fighter with his poisoned blade, and even the winged warrior lay defeated. Yet the human still stood in the center, calm, steady, untouched. No weapon in his hand, no armor on his body, only will in his heart. The younger warriors pressed forward, desperate to strike, desperate to erase the shame. But the iron-skinned leader raised his hand once more. Stop! His voice thundered, sharp as a blade. They froze, their eyes burning with rage and confusion. The leader's gaze fell heavy on the human. You have stood against my best, and you have not fallen, he growled. Tell me, human, what gives you this strength? What secret do you carry in your fragile body? The human looked around the hall, his eyes passing over every alien face. He saw their hate, their pride, their fear hidden in the shadows of their eyes. Then he spoke, his voice low, steady, but each word struck like iron against stone. You think strength is in size, in claws and steel and wings and poison. He paused, his calm gaze cutting through their pride. But you are wrong. The warriors shifted, growling, muttering. They did not like his words, but they could not ignore them. The human continued, his tone unshaken. On Earth we do not fight because we want glory. We fight because we have no choice. Every day we fight storms. Hunger, disease, war, we fight to live, to survive, to protect, and when you fight for life, when you fight for those you love, you do not break. The old scarred warrior's eyes widened. He nodded slowly. Yes, he whispered. This is why he cannot be crushed. The younger ones hissed, trying to laugh, trying to cover the truth with pride, but deep down their hearts trembled, for they had seen his will, his control, and now they heard his truth. The human raised his hand, showing the scars across his knuckles. These marks are not from glory. They are from survival. He touched his chest. This heart does not beat for conquest, it beats for family, for friends, for home. He looked up at the towering leader, his voice growing sharper. That is the strength of Earth. That is the secret you cannot see. The hall grew tense. The flames flickered. Shadows danced across the walls. The winged warrior groaned, lifting her head, staring at him with disbelief. You fight without fear, she whispered, but also without hate. The horned warrior spat blood, his pride burning. He should not stand against us. But he does, he muttered. Even the steel giant, groaning on the floor, lowered his eyes. None could deny what they had heard. The leader stepped down from his throne, his heavy feet shaking the stone. He towered over the human, a wall of iron flesh and rage. But he did not strike, not yet. He bent low, his eyes glowing like molten fire. You claim strength comes from survival, from protecting what you love, he rumbled. Then tell me this, human, what do you stand for here? In this hall, far from your Earth? The human's voice was steady, his answer simple. I stand for the truth, that no matter how small you think we are, no matter how weak you believe us to be, humans will never bow. We survive storms. We survive pain, we survive loss, and we will survive you too. If you come for us. The words struck the hall like a hammer. The warriors trembled not from fear of his fists, but from fear of his will. They saw now that he did not fight alone. Behind his eyes stood the spirit of an entire world. Every man, every woman, every child of Earth lived in his strength. And that truth burned hotter than any blade. The old scarred warrior slammed his staff against the ground, his voice rising. Do you not see? He fights for all of them, for all of Earth. This is why he cannot fall. This is why no warrior can break him. Some of the younger warriors lowered their heads, unwilling to admit respect but unable to deny it. The storm of anger had broken, and now a new storm was forming, one of fear and awe. The iron-skinned leader straightened, his eyes heavy with thought. He had ruled countless battles, faced countless enemies, but never had he stood before such a truth. A single human, unarmed and alone, had shaken the pride of the greatest warriors in the galaxy, and the leader knew if he struck this man down, the story would not end, it would spread like fire, and Earth's name would burn brighter than ever. The human stood calm, waiting, unafraid, for he had spoken his secret and the hall would never forget it. The human's words still echoed in the great hall. No matter how small you think we are, humans will never bow. The sound of it clung to the stone walls like thunder that refused to fade. Every warrior sat frozen, their pride burning, their hearts unsettled. The silence was heavier than any roar, heavier than the clash of weapons. The red-scaled warrior looked down at his broken chest plate, his claws trembling. The steel-armored giant, still on one knee, lowered his head, his fists unclenched. The winged fighter held her torn feathers close. Unable to meet the human's eyes, they had mocked him, sworn to crush him. Yet they had fallen one after another, and the human remained standing, calm as the sea before a storm. The younger warriors shifted uneasily, their tails thumping, their blades scraping against stone. They wanted to roar, to fight, to shout the shame away. But something inside them whispered fear, a quiet voice they could not silence. For they had seen strength that did not come from muscle or claws. They had seen a will that would not bend, a heart that did not know fear. The old scarred warrior leaned forward, his voice cutting through the silence. Young ones, do you feel it? This is not weakness, this is power. Not the power of blades, not the power of size, but the power of spirit, the power of survival. His words rang true, but the younger warriors would not admit it. They looked away, growling low. Though their eyes betrayed respect they did not want to give. The iron-skinned leader stepped closer to the human. His massive shadow fell over him, covering him like a mountain. The hall held its breath, waiting for the leader's strike, waiting for the human's fall. But no blow came, not yet. The leader's gaze was heavy, his molten eyes sharp. You have spoken of survival. Human, you have shown us will, but do you understand what respect costs in this hall? The human's eyes did not waver, his voice calm. Respect is not given, it is earned. I have not come here to beg for it. If you see strength in me, then you know what Earth is. If you see weakness, then strike me down, but remember this, kill me, and the story of this night will spread faster than fire. The words pierced every warrior's chest. They knew it was true even if the human fell, even if his blood stained the stone. The tale of a lone man who faced the galaxy's strongest would travel beyond the stars, and no warrior would ever laugh at Earth again. The leader's fists clenched, his pride demanded blood. but his mind weighed heavier. He had conquered worlds, silenced kings, broken champions, yet none of them had stood as the human stood now. Silent, fearless, unbroken. The hall grew colder. The blue flames dimmed. Every eye locked on the human, every breath drawn shallow. The sound of a single drop of water falling would have been thunder in that silence. And in that silence, something shifted. The storm of mockery had died. The storm of rage had burned away. What remained was respect, bitter, unwilling, but real. The winged warrior whispered, her voice thin but clear. He did not fight for himself. He fought for something greater. Perhaps that is why we cannot break him. The horned fighter turned his eyes aside. Shame in his voice, no warrior here can deny it. His strength is true, the iron-skinned leader finally spoke. His tone low, human. You have walked into the hall of warriors alone. You have faced our strongest. You have stood against our pride. And still you rise, no blade has touched you. No fear has broken you, he paused. His voice echoing across the chamber. From this day, no warrior will call Earth weak. Gasps rippled through the hall. Some warriors lowered their heads in bitter respect. Others clenched their fists, too proud to bow but unable to laugh anymore. The silence returned, not heavy with shame this time, but heavy with something new, respect. The human said nothing more. He only stood steady, his breath calm. His scars shining in the firelight, he did not smile, he did not boast. For he had not come for glory, only for truth. And the truth had been spoken. The old scarred warrior raised his staff, striking it against the stone floor. This night will not be forgotten, he declared. They mocked Earth, they mocked humans, but now the galaxy will remember that even the smallest flame can burn the proudest empire. The hall bowed its head, not in fear, not in defeat, but in silent respect. The human had not demanded it, but he had earned it. And in that silence, Earth rose higher than empires.
The great hall of warriors stood in silence, where once there had been mocking laughter. Now there was only respect, heavy and unspoken. The alien warriors who had called Earth weak now lowered their eyes. The proud ones clenched their fists. Their pride stung. But even they could not laugh anymore. And in the center, one human stood, calm, unbroken, his presence greater than any throne. The red-scaled warrior pressed a hand to his chest. His golden armor cracked. The steel-armored giant remained on one knee, too shamed to rise. The winged fighter hid her torn feathers, her eyes fixed on the ground. One by one, the strongest had fallen, and none could deny the truth. Earth was no longer a joke. The iron-skinned leader studied the human in silence. His heavy breath filled the hall, his gaze sharp as blades. He had seen thousands of battles, conquered empires, and crushed kings. But never before had he seen such a thing. A lone man, unarmed and small, who had broken the pride of an entire council. At last, the leader spoke, his deep voice rolling like thunder. Human, you have walked into the heart of warriors. You have faced our strength. You have faced our pride. And yet, you still stand. He leaned forward, his words heavy. Tell me your name, for it will not be forgotten. The human raised his head, his voice steady. My name is not important. I did not come here for glory. I came so you would know the truth, that Earth will never bow, that humans will never break, and if you come for us, you will remember me, not my name, but the strength of my people. The hall shook with his words. The warriors who once mocked now listened in silence. Some turned away, unable to face the respect rising in their hearts. Others clenched their weapons, their pride battling their fear. But deep down, all of them knew. This man had changed everything. The old scarred warrior rose. To his feet, leaning on his staff, his eyes burned with respect as he spoke. Remember this night, for it will echo across the stars. They mocked Earth. But Earth's strength now burns in our memory. This human has stood where no one dared, and he has done what no empire could. The young warriors shifted uncomfortably. They had laughed, they had sneered, but now they could not. Their hearts trembled, not with anger, but with the beginning of awe. For in the human's calm eyes, they had seen something they had never understood. Not conquest, not greed, not glory, but survival, love, and will. The iron-skinned leader lowered his massive head. It was not a bow, but it was close. His voice rolled across the chamber. From this day forward, no warrior will mock Earth. No council will call humans weak. The words struck the hall like a hammer. The warriors growled, hissed, but none dared to defy him, for even in their pride, they knew the truth. The human gave no smile, no victory cry. He turned, walking slowly toward the great doors of the hall. Each step echoed against the stone, heavy and final. The warriors moved aside, silent, their eyes following him. He did not look back, for he had no need. The truth had already been carved into their hearts. Outside, the stars stretched endless and cold. The human stepped into the night sky of the alien world. Alone, but carrying the weight of Earth on his shoulders, he had not won a crown, he had not gained treasure, but he had done something greater. He had changed how the galaxy saw his people. In the dark corners of space, whispers began to spread, of a human who had faced warriors and stood unbroken, of a fragile creature who carried the strength of a whole world, of Earth, once mocked, now feared. Every ship, every outpost, every council would hear it. The human stood against them, and he did not fall. The story became a legend. Some spoke it in fear, others in respect, but all knew the truth. Earth was no longer weak. Earth had a place among the stars, because one man had walked into the lion's den and walked out unbroken. The old scarred warrior's words became the final echo of that night. He has no crown, no empire, no army, but he has what no one here can match, and because of him, the galaxy will never forget Earth. And so it was. No alien warrior mocked Earth again, for the human had changed everything.